Mia had heard the stories about the cursed house, but she never believed them. Old houses always carried ghost tales, and this one was no different. The pay was too good to pass up, and all she had to do was spend one night documenting the eerie atmosphere for a paranormal research team. Simple enough, she thought, as she drove through the fog-choked forest toward the dilapidated mansion. The house stood at the top of a hill, its once grand façade crumbling beneath vines and decades of neglect. The door creaked loudly as she pushed it open, stepping into the stale, musty air inside. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the occasional groan of ancient wood settling under its own weight. Equipped with a camera and a flashlight, Mia began her exploration. The halls were littered with dust-covered furniture, and portraits of long-dead aristocrats stared at her from the walls with hollow eyes. As she walked deeper into the house, she began to feel the weight of something unnatural pressing down on her. It wasn't long before the strange occurrences began. First, it was faint whispers, indecipherable and fleeting, like wind passing through cracks. Mia paused several times, convinced someone was behind her, but the halls were empty. She laughed it off, blaming her nerves, but the air felt heavier, colder. Then came the shadows. At first they seemed like tricks of the light, darting at the edge of her vision. But as she climbed the stairs to the upper floors, she saw them more clearly. Dark, human-like figures that moved just beyond the reach of her flashlight. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she pressed on, determined to complete her task. She reached the master bedroom, a cavernous room dominated by a four-poster bed draped in moth-eaten curtains. The fireplace was long dead, but as Mia stood in front of it, a sudden coldness swept through the room. The door slammed shut behind her. She rushed to it, pulling at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in. She banged on the door, screaming for help, but the only answer was silence. Then, from the far corner of the room, came the sound of movement. Mia froze, turning slowly. The shadows pooled together, gathering form. The figure that emerged was tall, twisted, with eyes that burned like embers in the dark. Its mouth, unnaturally wide, opened into a grin that split its face in two. Mia's flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. She backed away, heart hammering, as the creature advanced. "Stay away!" she screamed, but her voice felt swallowed by the void surrounding her. In the pitch black, she heard the creature's raspy breathing getting closer, its footsteps slow and deliberate. Suddenly, the room was bathed in a blinding light. Mia shielded her eyes and stumbled backward. The door flew open, and in a frantic rush she escaped into the hallway. But something was wrong. The house had changed. The walls, once cracked and faded, were now smooth, pristine. The dust was gone, and the air smelled fresh, like it had just been cleaned. Mia stared in confusion at the transformation. Had she imagined everything? Then she heard it, a faint melody drifting from downstairs, the sound of a piano playing an old familiar tune. She followed the music, descending the staircase, her mind racing. In the grand parlor, a woman sat at the piano, her back to Mia. She was dressed in an elegant gown, her hands gracefully gliding over the keys. Mia approached, her steps hesitant. "Excuse me?" she called out. The woman stopped playing and turned slowly. Her face was pale, expressionless, her eyes hollow and sunken, locked onto Mia. "You shouldn't have come here," the woman whispered. Before Mia could react, the room dissolved into darkness. The woman, the piano, the house, everything vanished. She was standing in the middle of a field, the house gone, replaced by an expanse of dead grass and gnarled trees. Her car was nowhere in sight, and then she saw them, figures standing at the edge of the woods, watching her, their eyes glowing in the dark. The cursed house had taken another